we throw around the word disruptor a lot these days,
Yeah.
all the time.
Usually it just means like someone made a slightly better app for getting a taxi.
Yeah.
But if we're really being honest with the term, I mean really honest.
You're talking about someone who fundamentally changed the entire structure of society.
Exactly. Someone who grabbed society by the lapels and just shook it. And that person isn't in Silicon Valley. He was a farm boy from Michigan named Henry Ford.
It's so true. Looking at the source material we have for today, it's almost jarring. We're not just reading the biography of a guy who made cars.
No.
We are looking at the architect of the 20th century. I mean, the timeline here covers everything. His obsession with efficiency, the creation of the middle class, and, the really dark, turbulent years people tend to forget.
That's what really stood out to me in this document on Henry Ford. It's not this clean, straight line of success.
Yeah.
It's messy. It's this jagged graph of pure brilliance and, well, incredible stubbornness.
Right. But before we even get to the assembly lines and the labor wars, we have to clear something up. It's like, page 1, the biggest myth. I bet if you asked 100 people, 99 would say Henry Ford invented the car.
And our source corrects that immediately.
Oh.
He was absolutely not the inventor of the automobile. That credit is, it's spread out. You've got Nicholas Kudnat with a steam vehicle way, way back in 1719.
Wow, that far back.
Yeah. And then Carl Benz has a working gas car in 1885. So by the time Ford comes along, the car exists. It's just nobody really cares about it yet.
He was a novelty, right? A toy for the rich.
Exactly. A loud, terrifying, very expensive toy.
Ford's genius wasn't invention.
It was, I guess you'd call it, democratization. He didn't want to just make a car. He wanted to make a car that mattered.
And to get why he had that drive, you have to go back to the beginning.
Greenfield Township, Michigan.
Yeah.
Born in 1863 on a farm. And the source makes a really specific point here about his personality.
He hated it.
He hated it. It wasn't just that he disliked the work. He was, personally offended by how inefficient it all was.
I loved that detail in the source about him talking to the animals. It sounds almost like a myth, but he would literally whisper to the cows that someday someone was going to build a machine to do their work for them.
It shows that, for him, it wasn't just laziness. It was this deep belief that physical drudgery was a total waste of human potential.
And it all connects to his tinkering. He wasn't out plowing fields, he was taking watches apart.
By 15, he's the local watch repair guy. And think about what a watch is. It's all gears, precision, timing. He was obsessing over how tiny pieces fit together perfectly.
So he eventually just leaves the farm at 16, becomes an apprentice machinist in Detroit, completely against his father's wishes.
But there's this key moment later when he's an engineer at the Edison Illuminating Company.
He meets the man himself, Thomas Edison.
That's the moment. It's like the torch is being passed. Ford has this little sketch, this idea for a gas engine. And remember, Edison is Mr. Electricity.
He should have hated the idea.
You'd think so. But instead, Edison bangs his fist on the table and tells him, keep at it. That validation from the world's most famous inventor, that had to be pure rocket fuel for him.
So he does. He keeps at it. He builds the quadricycle in '96, which is barely a car.
It's like a bicycle with 4 wheels.
Right. But let's jump ahead to the real meat of it. Ford Motor Company starts in 1903. The early cars, the Model A, the Model N, they sold okay, they were fine, but they were still built like every other car, one at a time.
Yes, stationary assembly. You'd have a chassis in a room, and a team of skilled mechanics would just swarm it, fitting parts. It was incredibly slow.
And then, 1908, the Model T. This is the car. But reading the specs in the source, it wasn't just about the price. He took a huge engineering risk with the engine block.
This is a detail that gets overlooked, but it's so important. Before the Model T, engine cylinders were cast as separate pieces and then bolted on.
Which would be heavy and leaky, I imagine.
Very. And on those terrible roads, they'd vibrate and crack. Ford had this wild idea to cast all 4 cylinders and the block as a single, solid piece of metal.
Which sounds normal to us now.
But back then, they told him it was impossible. The foundry said the metal would warp, the molds would crack. It was a metallurgical nightmare. But Ford he forced them to figure it out.
And the result?
It was lighter, it was stronger, and it was way cheaper to make. It basically made the Model T indestructible.
And it had to be, right? Because the roads were just dirt tracks.
They were mud pits. The Model T had high ground clearance and used this special vanadium steel alloy. It could twist and bend without breaking. It was really more like a tractor than a car.
Okay, so the car itself is a breakthrough. But that's only half the story. The real revolution, the thing that is the Ford legacy, is the process, the assembly line.
And this is where the source gets a little visceral.
The inspiration wasn't from another factory, it was a slaughterhouse.
It sounds morbid, but it's pure systems thinking genius. He toured a meat packing plant in Chicago, and he saw the carcasses on an overhead chain.
A disassembly line.
Exactly. The cow moves past the line of butchers. One guy takes a leg, the next guy takes a flank. And Ford just looked at that and thought,
Reverse it.
reverse it. He realized if you move the product and keep the worker still, you eliminate all that wasted time. So instead of taking a cow apart, they put a chassis on a conveyor and started adding parts to it.
And then they brought in Frederick Taylor, the scientific management guy.
Right, and this is where it gets really clinical. Taylorism is all about the stopwatch. They broke down every single movement. If a worker took 3 steps to grab a wrench,
They'd move the wrench.
so he didn't even have to move his feet. The whole factory floor became one giant, synchronized machine.
The numbers in the document are they're staggering. In 1910, before the line, they make 32,000 cars. By 1916,
735,000.
that's just an incredible leap.
And that volume is what let him slash the price. The Model T started at $850. By the mid-20s, you could get one for $260.
So for the first time ever, the person building the car could actually afford to buy one.
Well, that leads us right to the next bombshell. 1914, the $5 day.
I think people hear that now and it doesn't sound like much, but our source puts it in context. The average wage was, what, $2.34?
He more than doubled the going rate overnight. It was global news. The other industrialists, like the Wall Street Journal, they thought he was a madman.
They thought he was going to destroy the industry.
They did, but Ford wasn't doing it to be nice. Our source is very clear on this.
This is a business decision.
A cold, hard business decision. He had a massive, massive problem to solve.
Turnover, the work on the assembly line was awful.
Soul-crushing. Imagine doing the exact same repetitive motion every 30 seconds for 9 hours straight. The turnover rate was something like 370%. They had to hire almost 1,000 men just to keep 100 on the line.
So the $5 day was basically golden handcuffs.
That's it, exactly. You put up with the mind-numbing boredom because you're making twice what you could make anywhere else. And it worked. The turnover problem just vanished.
But there was a catch. There's always a catch with Ford.
Oh yeah, big strings attached. He created the sociological department.
Which sounds very Big Brother.
It was. Ford believed that if he was paying you that much, he had a right to make sure you were living a proper life. He had investigators who would go to your home.
Go to your house. What were they looking for?
Everything. Are you drinking? Ford hated alcohol. Is your house clean? Are you saving money? Are you fighting with your wife? If you failed the inspection, you didn't get the full $5.
Wow.
You were put on probation at the base wage until you, quote, cleaned up your act.
It's just such a strange combination of progressive economics and this intense paternalistic control.
That is the definition of Fordism. High wages, mass production, and total social engineering.
So let's shift gears a little, away from cars. The source talks about a part of his life that I feel gets forgotten. Aviation.
He went all in on airplanes. Bought the Stout Metal Airplane Company, and just like with the car, he wanted to standardize it, make it for the masses.
And the result was the Tin Goose.
The Ford 4AT T-tron motor. It was made of corrugated aluminum, which looked like tin. But that design made the metal skin incredibly strong, so it was light. And it had 3 engines for safety.
It was the first real passenger plane?
First successful one in the US, yeah.
Yeah.
It could carry 12 people. He basically jump-started the commercial airline industry.
But his ambition wasn't just American, it was global. The source shows a map of Ford plants in the 20s, and they're everywhere. England, France, Germany. But the one that really stood out to me was the Soviet Union.
Now, this is a fascinating contradiction, right?
Okay.
Ford was a die-hard capitalist. He hated communism. But in 1929, Stalin himself invites him to build a giant auto plant in a city called Gorky.
And Ford says yes. Why?
Because I think Ford's faith in the machine was stronger than his politics. He genuinely believed that if you taught people industrial efficiency, it would make them rational and peaceful. He thought the assembly line could cure ideology.
Which is incredibly naive.
Deeply naive. But it's consistent with his view that trade and industry would make war obsolete. He was a vocal pacifist during World War I.
He funded that peace ship, right?
Yeah, sailed to Europe to try and stop the war. He got ridiculed for it. He even ran for Senate on a pro-League of Nations platform. He just saw war as a terrible waste of productive energy.
But then to Pearl Harbor?
And the pacifist has to pivot. and the pivot is absolute. This is the story of Willow Run. The government desperately needs B-24 Liberator bombers. The aviation industry at the time was building them, like custom craft projects, maybe one a day.
And Ford looks at the process and says,
We can do better. He applied car logic to building airplanes. They built a factory at Willow Run that was a mile long. It was so big it had an L-shaped turn so the bombers could go around a corner on the assembly line.
and the output from that factory.
They got it down to one bomber every hour.
1 hour. That is it's mind-blowing.
It is. They built over 8,000 of them. It was the ultimate proof of his method, the arsenal democracy. That was the Ford assembly line pointed at the war effort.
So if the story ended right there, in 1945, Henry Ford is this uncomplicated American hero.
He would be, yeah.
But the source material keeps going. And the last act of his life it's really where things fall apart. It seems like the very traits that made him a genius, that stubbornness, that singular vision, started to poison everything.
It's the classic founder's dilemma. He couldn't adapt. In the mid-20s, the market was changing. GM and Chevy started offering cars with better styling, more features, and crucially, different colors. Ford famously said you could have the Model T in any color you want, so long as it is black.
Which is a great line, but from a business standpoint, it was pure arrogance.
Fatal arrogance. Chevy was just eating his market share. By 1927, he was forced to do what he thought was unthinkable. Shut down the entire company for months to retool for a new car, the Model A. It cost him a fortune, and he lost the top spot to GM.
And at the same time this is happening, you have the labor wars. The guy who created the $5 day becomes maybe the most anti-union figure in America.
He took it as a personal betrayal. He saw the company as his family, and he was the patriarch. To him, a union was like his children rebelling against him.
And he responded with force. The source describes the Battle of the Overpass.
It was brutal. In 1937, union organizers were just handing out leaflets on a bridge near the factory. Ford's private security force attacked them, beat them bloody right in front of reporters. The photos went everywhere and just shattered his public image.
And woven into all this professional chaos is this awful personal tragedy with his son, Edsel.
Edsel was the president of the company, but he was never really in charge. Henry undermined him constantly. He thought Edsel, who was more modern and open-minded, was soft.
He humiliated him in front of other executives.
All the time. It was psychological torment, and Edsel died very young, at 49, from stomach cancer. And our source, like most historians, suggests the constant stress from his father was a huge contributing factor.
So Edsel's gone, Henry is in his 80s, he's had strokes, and he tries to take back control. But the company is it's failing.
It got so bad the government considered taking it over during the war because they were afraid his mismanagement would stop the supply of bombers. Finally, in 1945, the family basically stages a coup. They force him out and put his grandson, Henry Ford II, in charge.
What a sad, almost Shakespearean end. He dies just 2 years later.
But the legacy is just so incredibly complicated. You have the Ford Foundation, a massive philanthropic force for good. You have the company itself, which survived him. The system was strong enough to outlast its creator.
It just brings us back to that word disruption. We think of it as a positive, breaking old things to make new, better things. And Ford did that. He broke the class barrier for mobility. He broke the old model of craft labor.
But he also broke people.
Yeah.
That's the real takeaway for me. Efficiency is a powerful tool, but it's a cold one. He figured out how to maximize human output, but he never really figured out how to deal with humanity. He wanted workers to be predictable parts in a machine.
And when they acted like people wanting a voice, wanting respect, he just couldn't handle it. He built the machine, but forgot the parts were alive.
Exactly. But we are absolutely living in the world he built. That 8-hour workday, the consumer goods you can afford, the very idea of a middle class built on manufacturing wages. That's all Henry Ford.
It's definitely something to think about the next time you're stuck in traffic. A complicated man, for sure. Thanks for digging into this with us.
My pleasure.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.